the 25th of June 2021, tarehe 25 mwezi wa 6 mwaka 2021. Natumai kwamba uko salama, you've woken up well and you're ready to kick the day. Unajua it's also Friday, it's the end of the week. Wengine wako Naivasha, wale mko Naivasha, Bwana Yesu asifiwe. You guys are going to stay safe. Wale ambao mko Nairobi, you are your types. Wale mbaki Nairobi, mjue mahali mtapatana. It's another Friday and it's Sheria Wiki. Kama kawaida Sheria Wiki, we are opportunity to speak about the legal happenings of the week and we break down any legal issues that you have and we do it for you. Hapa tunakufanyia free of charge, lakini ukienda kutafuta George pale kando ama tafuta DEMAS, bas able to charge you for it. Also Julie is on our way, so we have Julie, tuko na Julie ambaye ni constitutional lawyer, Julie Soweto, constitutional lawyer. Then we also have George KIRUI, he's a commercial lawyer. He was here last time, he's been here before. He was on set with Barack Muluka, I think, if I'm not wrong. And then we have DEMAS KIPRONO from AMNESTY International. I'm sure most of you have read his articles and his ops on the media. So turns out we're going to have a conversation together on the legal issues that are happening during the week. But as usual, I request that you join in, please like when you like, I get to know that you're watching us. And after you like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to wide the broadcast. This is a tackle and it begins now. Tuambie mahali ndatoka, alafu basi tuchape kazi. Kama kawaida tuwe mbele za Mungu tuombe, alafu tukirudi basi tunaanza mambo. Mighty Father, we come before you this morning. We worship you, God, for your name. Thank you for another opportunity to be alive. We thank you for this show. We thank you for the week that has been. As we start off with us, when we finish, glory and honor shall come back to your name. Just in your name, I pray and believe. Amen and amen. Haya. Wana wakili Johalende mamuka mtu wa Matayo sikuwa kuche. Okay, twende diaspora kwanza. Mungu alito continue. Good morning team tackle tuning in from Convent United Kingdom. Leo ndio siku ile ya Sheria Wiki. Looking forward to the show. Asante sana ndugu yangu. Mungu alito continue. Babake Willy na kuwa na good morning. Steven Karoda ko Bank CIC Plaza hapa hill tuned in. Asante. Andrew Kidhirimo, good morning bro. Good morning to you my brother. Babake Willy slightly late today. Poleni tumechelewa kidogo lakini basi ndio sisi. Jacqueline Jabichi tuned in from Kiambu. Cycling Masai. Asante sana ndugu yangu. Cycling Masai, good morning. Mark my presence. Na kuona sana Cycling Masai. Cycling Masai made me a gift all the way from Narok. I'm going to pick it today. Niliona Wells Fargo amentafuta jana. I'm going to pick it today, then I'll give you my recognition. Asante sana to Cycling Masai Atakla all the way from Narok for the gift. I really appreciate it. Ikifika hapa naonyesha mataklas waone. Don Maverick, a very good morning team taklas watching from the Art of the Capital. Asante sana. Stephen Kiprotested God, good morning. Aaron Deritu, good morning. GB, good morning to you Aaron. Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate. Kama uja share broadcast afadhali kimbia pale upige share, alafu pia uweze kuzungusha kwenye group zako, WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, ama weke kwenye profile yako. I really appreciate. Asante sana Aaron Deritu for always sharing the program. Gamaliel Babayo, good morning. GB watching from Karen. Asante. Purity Tanoi tuned in. Thank you all the way from Dubai. Richard Karinguri, good morning, tuned in from Eldama Ravine. Asante. Babake Willy tuned in from Saudi Arabia. Asante. David Kitu tuned in from Kapsabet. Mariano Eva Chela Chamge Tugul Cabanas Doctor, thank you so much. Aaron Derit Westlands tuned in. Asante. William Wangi, good morning team. Good morning to you. Karoki Wamasi tuned and falling from Kayole. Gerald received greetings from Embakasi Central MP Major Dong Benjamin Kadhiru. All right, say hi to Benja. Tumeshimwa Benja, tunamsalimia sana. Johalembe that's John Gahemba. John Gahemba, good morning to you John Gahemba, it's good to see you. Gagifate, good morning watching from Nairobi. Daisy Maritim, good morning Utawala. Paradio Mudhe, Mambo Bitok watching from Narok na Sora, tuko pamoja. John W Karaoke, good morning. Dear Taklas watching from Kasarani. Priestley Alvis, Black Sea watching live. Keja Graphics all the way from diaspora, good morning. Good morning to you sir. Tindra, good morning team Tackle, that's another diaspora and good to see you. Manuto, good morning. Cheriot Kip Collins, morning. JB watching from CBD. Redox Moshama tuned in from Gashie. Wacha niangalia watu wa YouTube, sijui kama watu wameamka tayari mapema ama bado anazunguka pale. Let me check who we are having on YouTube. Let's see what YouTube wameamka. Good morning, Purity, all the way from Dubai. I can see you. Asante sana. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. This is Sheria Wiki of the 25th of June 2021. Tarehe 26 mwezi wa 6 mwaka 2021. 25 mwaka wa 6 mwaka 2021. This is the tackle and it begins now. When you join in, please like, share and let us know where you're watching us from. This is Sheria Wiki and it begins now. Good morning, George.
Morning, Gerald.
Good to see you.
It's been quite some time since I was last year, 2-3 months ago with Bonamoluka.
4 months.
4 months, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I see you're keeping well. I'm well myself. Seems like so much has happened since I was last on.
Yeah.
Don't know where to begin. But thanks for having me on.
What is the state of the nation?
State of the nation, first of all, this weekend we're celebrating. It's a very auspicious weekend for our country. We're having WRC this weekend after almost a hiatus of almost 20 years. As you've said, please Kenyans be careful, act responsibly. Yeah, remember the eyes of the world are upon us this weekend. Let us conduct ourselves, comport ourselves accordingly. And also, on another note, we was discussing WLC and decorum. Wakenya tafadhali hii weekend musisliceane wasichana. We don't hear stories of guys stealing each other's girlfriends, taking them for the rally. Because when it's all said and done, on Monday morning, when the visitors have gone, we're the ones who are going to be left dealing with the fallout. So here's hearing stories, I don't know who has shot who.
Trying to deal with your collisions.
Because they saw pictures of the girlfriend with another guy there at the rally. This weekend, we want a drama-free weekend. But others, I think that if the event is going to be a success.
Yeah.
And we give all glory to God as always.
Fully. I don't know if you saw the checklist. Nasema Subaru. Full tank
na
Gilbis na dema yenyewe.
And guys, please imbibe, drink responsibly.
Yeah, this weekend will come and go.
Indeed it will.
Our lives will still remain there. You don't want to come back with consequences that you're trying to deal with. Yeah, dunia ndio hivyo. Julie, Soweto. Finally. Finally.
Is that finally for today?
Finally, yeah. We've had your picture in a lot of posters and we've never seen you. Finally, we can put. Good morning to you. Yeah?
The day has come.
We are very happy. In fact, tulikuwa tumepanga wa mama kukuimbia umechelewa kidogo.
Hapana.
They are waiting to sing for you.
It's never too late. Wako wapi?
Wako, unajua sasa wameenda wamekimbia mahali juu tuliona labda ufike. So we said let them take a break. But you're well?
I am well.
Because your first time on the tackle, I'll give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to these guys.
Oh, wow. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Julie Soweto is my name. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I enjoy practice.
Okay.
Yes. Public law, human rights defender.
Okay. All right. What's the state of the nation?
Thank you for having me here.
Karibu sana. Na ukaribia kila siku. You're coming in more often.
Nikija kila siku nitafanya kazi sangapi?
Kila siku ni kila Friday. So you can work from Monday to Thursday. On Friday you show up here.
Yes. State of the nation. Yeah. For me, I think the only thing we should discuss today is this question of the registration of people fraudulently under political parties. Okay. It is an extremely serious issue. So if we're going to discuss anything else legal, I'm thinking this is only what we should discuss.
Okay. Agenda Naivasha.
Fanya nini?
DEMAS, good morning. How are you?
Yes.
Good to see you as well.
Good to see you.
It's also your first time on the tackle, so maybe you can introduce yourself.
Yes, DEMAS KIPRONO, also an advocate. I also work as a campaign manager for Amnesty International.
Okay.
I deal mainly with issues of policing, so accountable policing, data protection, and protection of civic space, generally fundamental freedoms.
Okay. Yeah. All right. What's the state of the nation?
Well, for me,
according to you,
I'm worried with the creeping insecurity that is happening all over the country. Extrajudicial killings are on the rise, disappearances, kidnappings, muggings, and we really need to see what should be done by the government. Yeah, there's a lot that was invested into police reforms under the new constitution, and we've gradually seen an erosion of all those safeguards and all those things that require the police to work with communities to ensure security. Okay.
All right. You've mentioned about WDRC, and I'm seeing some very queer behaviors by Kenyans, and this could actually put us in a very serious risk of getting around a cancellation. You know, Kenyans were jumping on vehicles yesterday, and I mean, we need to speak to Kenyans. The Kenyans are very peculiar people. We're just getting back after almost 20 years, over 20 years, and the first thing we do is break the protocols. People are sitting on bonnets.
Very shameful display, actually.
Yeah.
The ink was barely dry on the certificate of flagging off the cars. 10 minutes later, you could see the images circulating on WhatsApp. Because the drivers were heading to Kasarani, guys were stopping them and jumping on the cars. And now apparently some WRC drivers have actually started complaining.
Yeah.
So if we're not careful, we're going to lose this license that has been so hard won. We've campaigned for 20 years to get it back, and we can end up losing it just because of a few shenanigans. But I think when they progress to Naivasha this week, now late from today, I think things will be better. Yeah.
There's also the risk of even the Subaru guys joining the rally. Anyway, Julie, what do you think? What is it about Kenyans and these behaviors that we have?
I think maybe you should cut the Kenyans some slack.
Okay.
The last 1 year has been so hard. People have gotten an opportunity to go out and revel freely and enjoy themselves. Maybe it's overexcitement. Okay. Again, like you're saying, I mean, it's been, 20 years since so, we're like little children. We are so excited. You forget everything that you're supposed to do. But having said so, after we have gotten excited for the first few minutes, now let's be responsible.
There are consequences.
Yes, there are consequences. And then for me, it's not even just about the jumping on bonnets alone. COVID is still here with us. Yeah. And we need to be careful about it. People are not vaccinated.
Yeah. There are some others who are even locked now as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is comparable to what happened on Madaraka Day. We went and had a huge rally. Now look at what's happening in Siaya, in Nyanza. Because we thought, or we decided to put our guard down.
Okay. So Kenya wachungi. Hi, DEMAS. Which language do you use to preach to Kenyans?
There's evidence that the mental health of Kenyans has taken a blow. Actually, the whole world has taken a blow during this pandemic. And I think, as my senior was saying, that it was a chance for people to vent. But you have to realize that in everything you do, there are consequences. You have to act responsibly. So it's very sad, those pictures that we were seeing of people actually blocking cars that were supposed to be racing. That defeats even the purpose of the whole the whole operation that was going on there. And it for me, it's a mental health issue that people are acting quite abnormally. Is quite befuddling.
Okay. All right. This is something that happened yesterday, and it's quite sad. We lost 10 officers in Kajiado to a crash, a KDF crash. Are you aware, DEMAS?
Well, yes.
Right, yeah. So we can just kind of to wish them Paul.
Yes. It is very sad. Actually, my father's brother, my uncle, died in a similar crash. He was a member of the Air Force a few decades ago. And so it touches me in a soft spot. It's very sad that what happened. And I think for the first thing that we should do is to allow the families to mourn. Because in such situations, even the body that you might be given doesn't really look like your person. We'll leave it to the experts to do the investigations of what went wrong, as is usually the case, and it's just to say pole to our fallen soldiers.
Julia.
First, my sincere condolences to the families of those who lost their lives to the crash. But I'm concerned. It's not the first time. We're having this kind of incident. And we never, for me, it raises the question of the safety or the state of our aircraft, our helicopters, and what's being done about it. I can't speculate on it, but, even our military budget usually is quite a bit, and then there's secrecy around it. But what do we do with that money? Because if it's not too long ago we lost, was it a minister and an assistant minister, use it on because of a helicopter. I think it was a helicopter, right?
Yeah.
Crash, yeah. So this happens. We're told investigations are being done. I don't recall any report being given or us being told this is what we found out from the investigations. So it happens, and then we
move on until it happens again.
We move on until it happens again. Yeah. So that concerns me. It's a bit too frequent. I think also I can't remember, but I don't think it's a year since again another aircraft went down.
Yeah.
It's I think a few months.
Yeah.
Yeah. In which forest was that the aircraft went down? So there are questions to be asked there. Okay. Serious questions here.
George.
Yeah, as I join my learned co-seniors here and saying polo to the families of the bereaved. Laying down your life for your country is actually the ultimate expression of patriotism. However, in this case, you have to wonder if it was actually necessary, because we're not necessarily it was not a war situation, at least as far as we have been informed. It seemed to have been a training exercise that has gone wrong. So you have to ask yourself, did these soldiers really have to sacrifice their lives in the manner that they did?
Yeah.
As senior here has pointed out, there have been several instances in the recent past of unexplained crashes, and we never given closure regarding what actually happened. So we just hope that this is going to be something that will be taken with the seriousness that it deserves by the military and the relevant authorities, and that it will become a thing of the past. Yeah, we don't want to lose lives needlessly. Yeah, so please, to the relevant authorities, let's get to the bottom of it, and please share the information with Kenyans. But otherwise, to the families of the bereaved, poleni sana.
No. There's been also, I don't know, these are just speculation. The story is coming out on the load capacity of the copter. Anyway, we hope they'll come out with the truth.
They treat them like matatus. I mean,
I think they're having over 26 capacity of, I think 18, 16. Anyway. I don't want to be given a lift. So let's go to the elephant in the room. Registration. I woke up and I'm a member of TNA since it was not formed.
A member of?
TNA party. I never registered for it. And interestingly, I became a member even before it was formed, because if you know, TNA was formed later, after all these other shenanigans in the political scene. So a lot of guys are finding themselves in different parties. Most of the guys are finding themselves in ANC. I don't know where you guys found yourselves. But I keep wondering, when we took the other day, we were giving out our details for Huduma number. These guys know everything, including the number of cows you have in your village. How valuable is data in Kenya? Is it being used to do the things that we are hearing about? Someone has registered you in a party that you've never lined up and registered. The RPP, the only feedback is telling us is you can resign. You're not telling us how we got there. George.
Yeah.
What happens with this thing?
First of all, I'm apparently a member of Mazingira Greens political party.
Who is that?
I've never heard of them, let alone even know what their logo looks like. But here we are. Recently, globally, we have seen the last couple of years, we've seen the rise of what is known as big data. Right now, they say globally, data is almost, if not more valuable even than oil.
Yeah.
Right now, that's how the Silicon Valley, the alphabet companies of the world, the Googles and the Facebooks, they actually make their profits by selling our data. Okay. And I remember we touched on this last time I was here regarding the Data Protection Act. And whenever you logged onto a site and accepting all those nefarious terms and conditions, and those cookies that never come with milk, with what this is the net effect. We're now feeling it now. Yeah, so basically, there's actually a Data Protection Act in Kenya, and actually came into force as a result of the furor or the uproar that Kenyans raised during the Huduma number registration exercise. Because as you rightly pointed out, guys were asking, there's so much data we are giving out, but where is it going? But if you read the provisions of the Data Protection Act, there have been so many breaches in this particular instance, we don't even know where to start. We can actually even we should compel, and I think the Raila's son has moved to court to do that. should compel the registrar.
Raila son is a member of ANC.
Apparently,
Not even ODM.
Raila Jr. has moved to court to compel the registrar of political parties to reveal exactly how this data was compiled, what are they using it for, and when was it accessed, and this is information that actually should be publicly available to all of us. Yeah, that's all I'll say it for now. I'll let my seniors there also wait, because I know they're burning to.
But where is the legal redress for Kenyans, Julie? Where do we turn this?
Yeah, I have a lot to say
I know.
on this one. First of all, if they can register you without your consent, without your knowledge, put you in, what else can they not do
What will stop them from voting on your behalf?
without your information? You're going too quickly. Slow down.
Okay.
Calm down. But that's one of the things. What stops them from voting on your behalf?
Indeed.
You know, we forget about we quickly forget. It's not too long ago we were talking about vifaranga vya computer.
Yes.
Why should I trust the integrity of our elections from here? Because I have been registered under a political party. I do not know how it was done for me, and yet we're saying we're trying to digitize where we're going forward. So tomorrow, when we do elections, how do I know it is me who is voting? But anyway, let me walk back, start back why this is very concerning. And first of all, I think we should call it what it is.
Okay.
It's fraudulent. It is criminal.
It's fraud.
In fact, before you even move to the political party or to the registrar, the first port of call should be a police station to report what I consider identity theft. Because someone has taken my identity and then used it to register me in a political party. When I checked, I mean, I was concerned, and this is not being done by just some political party. Government is involved. Let them not pretend. For those of you who've taken your Huduma number and gave out your details so that even your cows are known and your chicken and the jiggers on your feet. I mean, this I haven't. And yet my information, all the names on my ID card with the correct spelling appear there. Where would you get that information?
Yeah.
Only government has that kind of information. For them to use it that way and then put me there, I'm asking myself, what else might I not be implicated in? What other crime might I not be accused of? Because this has happened before.
Especially in an era of even registering SIM cards.
Exactly.
Not people's names,
It's not long
and
ago.
doing crime,
My sister, my sister, my good friend, Kathy, was accused and charged in a court of law for registering herself, apparently, or procuring registration through forgery. IEBC's registration. During that 2013 election, we forget that people were coming out and saying, I registered, my data is not there. Or I've registered, you've put me somewhere else. So it's very, very serious. We should not take this thing lightly. We should not laugh about it. Secondly, you cannot go back. You cannot go to the registrar of political parties to deregister. Because that in itself is validating an illegal process. I'm looking at, I looked at the procedure that you're supposed to follow to deregister yourself. In fact, you're giving them information. You have to give them your ID. You have to give them, your passport for them to deregister you. Which means by you going there to deregister or asking them to deregister you, they're now mining more of your data.
And you're endorsing the first
And you're endorsing the
illegality.
first illegal act. Thirdly, the Political Parties Act actually says it is illegal to procure registration through fraudulent means. And that the registrar of political parties can deregister or may deregister a political party who has obtained registration of members fraudulently. I want these political parties deregistered. We just need to do away with the whole lot of them.
We start afresh.
I want someone deregistered. Kwani hii serikali metubeba ufala aje? I mean, you put me there. You use my data. You
Say for you to get out, you come and
anything.
get yourself out.
Yeah. Hapana. We need to exercise our power as the people by making this a very painful exercise. Whoever woke up and decided, because they seem to know, it has been, it's not a hoax anymore for those who think that this might have been a hoax, computer glitch. No. Everybody I have asked around me is registered somewhere.
And they didn't do it themselves.
Yeah. So you're registered in a party that didn't even exist.
Imagine.
It means my unborn child is probably registered in some party that doesn't exist.
Especially the Uduma.
Rigging has begun.
Yeah. So let me ask you, all right, I know it's a weird question, but so what do you think is the end game of the whole thing?
Rigging. But we've already started rigging.
Okay.
We've already started rigging, if you're not thinking.
The system.
Rigging of the 2022 elections.
Okay.
The rigging has already begun. So next year, while you guys are discussing and saying, we who voted where, the decision was made a long time ago. You already registered. You already given a vote. You cast it.
Wow.
And you're not aware. You see, there are many issues around this. We were told the other day that BBI signatures were collected. How do I know that I'm not one of the signatories somewhere?
In BBI.
BBI. Because if the system is not secure, if there's no integrity to any of these systems and with our data, because for you to have registered me under this political party, I'm not going to say which one I am registered under right now. But I want to imagine that somewhere my signature was required. Should have filled a form and put my signature.
So the question is, who signed it for you?
Who signed it for me?
It's a good day to be
So
alive.
if they signed it for me, it means, for all you know, when they say that Kenyans
I've decided.
are the ones who said we want BBI and it's there, your signature might be there.
How do you say it was not you who was signing? Your names are there. The way they are with every single letter of it.
Let me allow DEMAS to speak for now, because I can go on. Like I said, it's the only thing to discuss today.
But it's quite interesting because I think it opens up on a lot of other issues. It's like,
Exactly.
I mean, it's opening up a can of worms. On what else?
It has opened up the can of worms. Everything that has happened this week for me boils down now to this data. And shortly after that, I found it odd that this happened, and then I think, was it, I don't know if it was the same day or a couple of days later, we are now being told, now that Huduma number, tomorrow, is it in a few days, our IDs are going to be obsolete. We now must go and
pick your
register
Huduma.
and take your Huduma number if you want to get services in this country, and already you're showing me
The misuse of data.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, DEMAS, what's the legal redress? Where do we turn this back? She has said we exercise our powers, but where is this power? It's very elusive. The more we talk about our powers, the farther it looks.
I think before we even go to what do we do, let's unpack the violations, right? So you have the right to privacy under Article 31. And under that right to privacy, you have your right to data protection, right? Then you have the right to have information about you that is misleading or inaccurate under Article 35 to be corrected. And then we have the right to join the political party of our choice. So for me, I found myself in a party that did not exist. I joined that party in 2012. It did not exist by then. That party came into life in 2017. So they've robbed me, first of all, the right of choice. But just think about it. These are data breaches. Any data controller or processor, and of which the Register of Political Parties is one, and political parties are another, are bound to the Data Protection Act. They're also bound to the Political Parties Act. So there are breaches that are happening, and the office is supposed to deal with these breaches. The Office of the Data Protection Act, which was formed last year, has been given 50 million in an election year for as its entire budget. So the Data Protection Commissioner has only been given money enough to pay rent and salaries for about 4 senior officers, and that is it. So first of all, are my rights able to be protected by this office? That's the first question. But on data protection, for you to hold my data, there are certain precursors that must happen before you purport to hold and process my data. The first one is you have to have my informed consent. That was not there. Then the data must be accurate. It was not accurate. There should be time limits to how you hold that data. There should be limitations to the use of that data. So that is on data protection. But on political rights, our constitution designs our democracy as one where political parties are supposed to be formed by people who then, by selling their ideologies and policy positions, hope to get supporters and then hope to form government.
People who subscribe to their parties.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. But in this case, it looks like political parties were formed and then to comply with the requirements of the Political Parties Act, then people were erroneously put into those parties.
Not erroneously, DEMAS. Fraudulently
or illegally.
Not erroneously.
Because
Fraudulently.
there's no error. The details are correct.
Call it what it is.
Yeah. So then you are put in there to stack up the party so that it qualifies to certain things. But that means we are bastardizing our democracy. So instead of parties being vehicles of the people, parties are just now empty shells that now hope to form government. And I think it is something that I'm not hearing enough, that it is now a danger to the whole democratic system. Yeah.
Okay. So what's the legal, where do we turn it back from? What is the legal redress? Or we just line up and say, no, you registered as illegally, please remove us.
No. Like I said, police station right now. I mean, first report, and then write to the party and demand to be, whether it's to be removed or to have the information corrected. I might see DEMAS Kando so that he sponsors and funds a class action suit.
Indeed. Companies,
it's not small. Sorry, it's that's where our power lies. We actually have power. It's just we don't have the time. Because I'm thinking, right now I have to go and then go and deal with at the police station, report, then start following up. But I'm just thinking we just need to go and call all the Kenyans and say, if you have found yourself in a party and you didn't register yourself, take this seriously. Find a way. I mean, look for a lawyer. Maybe we figure out how to come together, many of us, but even one of us or two of us can act in the public interest and hold somebody to account. Because if they can put you in illegally, they can also remove you illegally, which means if we talk about elections, exercising my political rights, now that we're dealing with the political party, if tomorrow I wake up and I find I want to go and vote, and I don't find myself in the register, what do? Or as a member, if right now I have been put as a member of a certain political party, and then tomorrow I want to contest a position in a different political party, you won't be able to do it because you'll be told, but you're a
member of another party.
So you have to resign, do what? You can even be accused of what is it called? Hopping.
Party hopping.
Which you can't do.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why we can't just keep quiet about this.
Okay. I hope you guys will come up with something.
No, we will definitely. But as seniors pointed out, we have mechanisms that are open. We have redress. We can go to court. However, as you've rightly pointed out, Kenyans are very lethargic people. We always assume that someone else is going to do it. Think of a scenario like when you're in your house and then maybe lights go, steam and no one ever wants to call KPLC because you assume that the neighbor has done so. You know what I mean? So the mechanisms are there, but let's just hope that Kenyans take this with the seriousness it deserves, and we really need to storm the gates and say this is enough is enough. We're not going to have this anymore. We're not going to entertain this kind of nonsense anymore. How can we just use our data like we're animals? We're not going to entertain it, kabisa.
And besides, there are people in certain professions that require them to be politically neutral.
Exactly.
Yeah. For example, people
Judges.
like us, judges, people who need to speak truth to power sometimes. Then you find yourself you're a card-carrying member of the same people you're trying to.
The same system you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, DEMAS.
So it violates so many things.
Okay.
Because like right now, I'm just wondering, there's the DCJ, for instance, is facing allegations of things that she's claimed to have done, not to have done, based on information, based on data. Now, and that is how also the case against her collapsed, because it was found that the DCI had illegally obtained information using a court order that they purported to be looking for something else in the bank, and then used it
to get something else.
To get another person's information, and then they take you to court. I mean, just look at the trouble the poor judge is going through right now, and what it has cost her. You can be accused of murder today, based just on your phone records, details. Someone will call you and then our lazy police investigators will say, no, but
you guys talked.
And yet it's probably some group calling you even from committee, or just, or they plant it. Because that's why I was saying, if normally people misspell my name, but when I found myself registered, it is with all the 3 names as they appear in my ID, correct spelling and all.
Wow. Okay. So I don't think then we are not even where we want to talk about consolidating data, because we are not sure of its protection. Anyway, someone else will go and tread with it somewhere. Now, another story. Whistleblowers from Mara have been fired. And, we move on so fast. We talk about let's fight corruption. We are so passionate about it. DEMAS, tell us we're stealing at Amnesty. George, tell us all these things. Then tomorrow they crucify you and, life moves on. And you keep wondering, when you talk about fight on graft, do we really mean it? And the people who put their lives on, their careers on the line, and their, and their food, could use the right word, quite literally, you're putting it on the line, on someone's feet. How do we ensure that these people are protected? And when you talk about fighting graft, are we ever serious?
Well, first of all, this guy was hung out to dry. Let's just call it what it is. What we need in Kenya is what is known as whistleblower protection regimes. In the Western world, it's normal. But if someone comes out and basically does what he did, there should be legislation in place, rules in place that, first of all, protecting from being fired, from being victimized, and if indeed he does find himself out of a job one way or another, they should also set up a way of compensating whistleblowers. You should actually incentivize it to make it sure such that it's a positive act. So that now, because in typical culture, corporate culture, what happens, and I've seen this happen firsthand in my corporate life, is that someone will see something going wrong and will maybe even have the moral urge to act on it, but out of fear of reprisals, they remain mum. Yeah, they keep quiet about it because they don't want to lose their job. People are suffering out here. And they ultimately let whatever is happening go on unabated. So if we implement whistleblower protection rules in the country, I think it'll go a long way towards curbing this trend. Now, to deal with this, for this guy in question, this scandal happened barely. Has a year even passed?
Things should be under here.
In fact, I'm shocked at the nerve, the unmitigated goal that Masai University has the guts to actually fire him. And when the chancellor was reached for comment, he was asked, is this letter that's doing the rounds accurate? He said, that's it is, and I have nothing further to add. As in that thorax kind of mentality is what is now empowering graft in this country. People feel like, you know what, if I can get away with it, and I'll just maybe face a storm of a couple of weeks. Kenyans have a very short memory. Then it becomes worth it. I bet even that practice could even still be going on in the same university. Guys are like, let's just get rid of the guy in question. And life moves on. So we really need to re-examine where we are as a country regarding graft and whistleblowers. It's very sad.
Okay. Julie?
I think maybe the first thing is to say is that fighting against corruption, fighting any ills, fighting any wrongs in society comes with a price. It always comes with a price, and so it should not stop anybody from doing the right thing. This young man who blew the whistle on what was going on at the Masai Mara University said he did it because his conscience, he could not take it anymore. And so he had processed that there might be a cost to him coming out. And we should encourage more Kenyans to do this. Because it is in us first standing up for what is right that we can then have the courage to also stand up against bullying, what is and what is wrong. Because the whistleblower regime actually is supposed to protect you, for instance, from, there's a threat to your life. In this case, what we have is an institution actually perpetrating impunity. It's not so much about the whistleblowers, it's about the impunity by the institution in thinking that we will not be held to account for this, for what it is that we are doing or have done. There is a procedure because it's I don't want to take it lightly, but I don't think it's that they're saying that his life is at threat. What they have used very cleverly are the employment laws to then go and target, victimize this person and get them fired. Now, I think Amnesty International has taken it up.
Yes.
Is it Amnesty or Transparency has taken it up? Because again, using the same employment laws and procedures, that's what due process of law is about, and that's what the rule of law is about. He should actually then now go and sue the University Masai Mara for unfair termination or dismissal. Now, when these things happen, because even in the court, in the Employment and Labor Relations Court, one of the things they look at is your conduct, because then you put it there and say, this was done to retaliate against me for doing 1, 2, 3 thing.
Yeah.
What I then think is that then people, now we should start holding individual decision makers accountable so that they don't hide behind the institution.
Yeah.
Individual decision makers need to be held responsible. That way, the next time such a case comes up and happens, every decision maker is put on notice. They are afraid, even they have to think that, am I doing this rightly? Will I be held accountable also for my own actions?
Yeah.
Or do I then just pretend and say, oh, but the institution decided? So he has recourse.
Yeah.
He has recourse. The justice is not easy. Fighting for justice is not easy. Fighting against corruption, again, like I said, is not easy. So he should stay strong.
Okay.
But
DEMAS.
continue fighting.
There's someone somewhere sitting right now, maybe in a public office, and they're sitting watching wrong things happening, fraud, corruption, and all that. And there's a precedent that you're setting that the guy who did what you're almost doing is already saying hanging dry. And I mean, we moved on. We're so okay with it. How do we ensure that these people are protected? That I can have the confidence that I can come out and speak about corruption that's going on in government and not feel threatened and sleep well at night? But it even gets worse. With the disappearance of people, you find yourself, Julie is missing because maybe he said something about an institution. How do we frame this?
First of all, this is not an isolated case. In our history, we know of the Munya case, what happened to him. He was fired after whistleblowing on Goldenberg. We know why John Githongo had to leave the country. And I think for this decade, this guy is now Spencer is now the poster child for whistleblowing for this time. The law as it is does not respond to the need to protect whistleblowers. However, I'm aware that there are 2 bills in Parliament, one by Shakil Shabir and another by a certain women rep, the name escapes me right now, that seeks to first of all set up whistleblower protection and to also give incentives for Kenyans to be able to come out and whistleblow. And in fact, in one of the draft bills, there is a provision for that person who whistleblows gets a percentage of the money that they have saved. In this case, the vice chancellor of that university has actually been charged in court. So whatever he did was right, and it has led to real legal consequences. So for them to use a provision such as insolence to employer to dismiss him is very sad.
Cyberbullying.
And insolence to employer, first of all, that's a very vague provision. It reminds me of how people used to be arrested for sedition. Just disagreeing with the official position is sedition. But going further, we also need to unpack certain laws, such as the Official Secrets Act, so to enable public servants to whistleblow despite the Official Secrets Act, so that it's not a limitation to the whistleblowing. As an organization, Amnesty International, Transparency International have taken up the issue. I know there's a certain senior lawyer who has offered to represent him in court, and they are filing certain documents right now. But we need to seize this moment, because the message we are sending out there is that whistleblowing is dangerous. Don't try to do it. We will hang you dry in the morning when the sun is shining for everyone to see. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not even so much about the whistleblowing right now. Actually, in the underlying message is actually a threat to the witness because there is an ongoing criminal prosecution. And the institution is actually just sending a message directly and indirectly to the witnesses, because most of them will probably be the university staff. So they're being told in not so many words, we can deal with you, or we will deal with you. So think about how you want to, what you want to say in the criminal case or in the criminal proceedings as a witness. I am not aware. I don't know if I don't know who all the other witnesses are. And if only Spencer, what's his name? I can't forget his other name.
Sankale. I think Spencer Sankale or something like that.
Has if he's the only one who's been targeted, because if it's only him, it's a message, it's a threat to the other witnesses.
The chilling
We are
effect.
watching. We've just started.
Yeah, this is how we're going to deal with you, and that's the issue actually. It's not even so much about this particular person's job. But because the matter is in court, I mean, sometimes, and that's why we have to be careful, for me, and the rule of law and following the procedures is very important, is because we've also seen the opposite happening in the name of whistleblowing, yet to set up someone.
Yeah.
And have people charged and arrested. So we have trumped up cases in court, and against innocent people, just to fix someone. So
it's a delicate balance.
It's about the process. It's about the rule of law. This person, the staff at the University of the Masai Mara University, they came up, they gathered their information, and then they passed it on to the investigators, the DCI and the DPP. For me, again, it goes back to also their competence in how they handle these things. And now people are in court, they've been charged. Let that process go on. Now, this one who has been accused of certain misdeeds at the university, even he is entitled to the process, due process of the law, in deciding whether is it true that he
Insolence or to imply.
insolence, insubordination, whatever it is, whatever those things are. Yeah.
That's sort of subjected to law.
Let everybody be subjected to the law.
And in fact, that case reminded me of the current reporting on a lady who apparently bought 11 apartments in Kilimani. And bought a
Some
building.
Kera lady.
Yeah, do you think that she did all that and no one never noticed? But whoever saw it just looked the other way because, again, you don't want to ruffle feathers.
Don't want to rock the boat until the chickens now come home to roost. Now she's being hung out to dry, but rightfully so if she's actually guilty. But yeah, let's hope that justice is actually served, because I agree with what you're saying, Sine. It's a delicate balance, because it could be, you never know, that this guy maybe after whistleblowing he decided now to put his feet up, started coming to work late, started being insubordinate, now taking advantage of that fact, maybe thinking now because he's protected. You never know. So let justice avail itself.
Okay. So, let's also agree that law has to apply on both ends.
Indeed.
So let him find out the accusations that he's in all those other things, and also let the other guys justify that these guys needs to go.
But even as we're doing the right thing, continue doing it. It comes with a cost.
All right.
Don't give up on doing the right thing.
Okay, before we go to BBI and the composition of the bench, let's look at yesterday's ruling, Sonko's ruling. And it looks like now permanently Sonko is now in the warehouse, political warehouse, until further notice. I don't know what you guys make of that argument or that petition that happened and the ruling that happened yesterday. I'll start with you.
I think it was a very sound ruling. First of all, if you look at what Sonko was alleging, is in a nutshell, he was saying that the MCAs who voted for his impeachment did so, it was unlawfully. He says that he flew them to Kwale and they were not present to physically vote. But he's forgetting the fact that this was during COVID restrictions. The guys actually voted online. And there's a whole register of members logging in and voting. So the motion passed. And then in addition, he tried to allege that when he was signing the deed of assignment to transfer power over to NMS, he's saying he was high, or rather he was drunk. So in his ruling yesterday, the court said that, first of all, that is conduct and becoming of a public officer from the word go. You're not even supposed to be acting in such a manner. And if you look at the wider political aspect of it, I think Nairobians were tired. Yeah, this guy had to go. Yeah, I remember at the height of his power, this guy used to move around with a gold-plated convoy of cars stacked with goons, so wielding all sorts of weapons and machine guns sticking out of that gap between the window and the roof of the car. It had become too much. So it's like when those movies were like a failed state, like when Haiti or Sicily, acting like a warlord. We were tired. So I think it's best for everyone. Let us start a new chapter as Nairobians and we move on.
Okay. All right. Julie has decided to pass this one. So DEMAS, the same ruling. And I'm also seeing URPP, they have pulled down the site they're using for verification. So I think they have heard you guys want to go to court. Anyway, Sonko's ruling.
I don't have very strong opinions on that particular ruling. Basically, because I also believe in whoever wants to rely on equity must come with clean hands. There's a lot of things that he did. But I think the big picture for us is Nairobi County is part of the devolution system of this country under the Constitution. And are we being governed by our elected representatives? I think at the end of the day, that is where it goes. And Sonko, with all his shenanigans, was elected, as far as I know. Yeah, and so we perhaps also need to interrogate who we elect. What competencies do we want them to have? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that is what we call democracy. It's not appointment, it's election. So but the absolute majority have their way somehow, some way. All right. Okay. Kenyans, that's what they chose, the people of Nairobi, the Kenyans of Nairobi.
Yes.
The Kenyans. I mean, it's everywhere. Anyway, I'm not seeing anyone who is better than the other. They're all consequences. All right, let's talk about BBI. We have an upcoming case, the appeal on BBI. We've seen the bench was released yesterday. There has been a conversation on those who seem or look liberal and those who are more conservative. There has been a conversation on who lies where. I don't know. Julie, I hope you're not going to pass that one. So I'll start with you. You've looked at the composition of the bench. The case is coming up. The case has been read out by the argument of the guys who went to court. It's all there. You know why?
I think I can save my senior from this one because she's on record in that case.
No,
you're not?
No, I'm not. I think we've lost sight of what else is happening. Let me take you back to after the decision was delivered by the High Court, by the judges. For 2 years, we have been having some 40 judges in limbo, waiting, not being appointed. And then BBI judgment comes, and suddenly
we have the judges.
Judges are appointed.
Good magic, don't you think? Is that not good magic?
Whether it's whatever you call it. And the 34 judges are appointed, and we know that 6 are left out. We have focused so much and concentrated on the 6 when I think it's not about the 6. It's about the 34 and the other judges.
Oh, okay.
The president was sending a message to this bench, this Court of Appeal, to tell them, this is what we can do to you. It was a warning shot. So that if you are sitting in the judiciary right now, you want to ask yourself, am I free to do my job? Freely to exercise my mind independently, freely, without fear or favor. It was a warning shot to this particular bench that was going to deal with the appeal. And so right now, the question we should be asking is not whether the judges are liberal or conservative. It actually doesn't matter
anymore.
We should be looking under the table to check and see who is being squeezed inappropriately under the table. You see, because when you've grabbed a man by their privates, they can't think. They don't care whether they're liberal, they're conservative. They just can't think. They cannot exercise their minds. So right now, our concern should be, are these judges secure enough
to think?
Are they free? You should be looking under the table. I think we should be looking to see what's happening that we cannot see, and who is being squeezed privately.
Wow.
Who has skeletons in their closet that they fear might be
They'll be keen to protect
used against them. But then again, we also know you don't even have to have skeletons in your closet.
They can help you get some.
They will, yes, exactly. They'll manufacture for you some skeletons.
Yeah.
So the question is this decision is going to be about courage, security of the judges, for them to feel courageous enough, that they're secure to be able to exercise their judicial independence without fear of repercussion from any quarter.
Okay. What do you expect? That's Julie. SOWETO.
Well, like I said, I want to know what's happening behind the scenes. I want to know. Because we have been shown that it is done and it can be done.
Okay.
As a Kenyan, for me, my involvement even is we must now guard our judiciary, pray for them, cover them. You know, I know you start with a prayer all the time, meaning you believe in the power of prayer, and you know, we serve a God of who cares about justice.
So we pray for this.
In fact, God says he's the God of justice. And so it is to just have this cover of protection for these judges, to keep them secure from
So you already feel what we're expecting from this is almost already determined.
I
Somehow
think
determined.
not that it's already determined. I think the shots were fired already.
Okay.
So that already, as you're walking in, you actually don't want.
You are a
to
casualty
be,
in advance.
You don't want to be in, on that bench. You don't want to be in that position. In fact, right now, the position of the 6 judges is better than any judge who is
He's on that bench. You're better out than in.
because they will be appointed.
Okay.
It's taken 2 years. We've never had any complaints about these 6 judges.
Yeah.
They will eventually be appointed.
If I may ask a question, Sina, do you think the other 34 should have refused the appointments? Should they have stood in solidarity with the 6 and say, if you're not appointed, it's either all of us or none?
Oh, no.
There's some schools of thought that think that they should have, and that they let the judiciary down or the country by accepting the carrot that was dangled of promotion that had been long promised. What are your thoughts?
The message that the president was sending, is by by implication, by innuendo, by insinuation. What he was saying is that these judges have been sanitized enough. You've been out in the cold. We have tamed you. So that, you want to go and look and see the jurisprudence. You're forced to actually start questioning whether these judges are now free to exercise their mind in doing this job. It's not an enviable position. You come in and you walk in, and as you're walking in, I am wondering, but are you free to exercise your mind without fear or favor? Did you have to make a deal
to get there?
To get there.
Okay.
Because we already know that those who are being accused, some of those who are being accused were from originally are not amongst the 6. They've gone in. Some of the ones who are now being accused were not the ones they had issues with in the beginning. So, you start questioning and wondering, did people have to make deals? Did people have to sell their souls to get in?
Okay, George.
I think the executive in this case, first of all, it's employing classic divide and rule tactics. We've seen it's very effective. That's how we were colonized in the first place. Yeah, and you can see it now taking effect in the judiciary. And I agree with Sinya. Basically, this was a warning shot, a shot across the bow, as it were, to the judiciary. Basically, the message they've been told is now, you either toe the line and rule the way in government's favor,
Or we told you.
Or you reap the whirlwind. And the state right now has several tools at its disposal that it uses to deal with its perceived dissenters, KRA being chief among them. These days, if you're perceived as being anti-government, KRA will just come calling. Yeah. Thank God, for some of us, silver and gold have we none, so there's nothing for them to come in.
But George,
we were perceived as anti-government.
But George, KRA does not need to depend on what silver or gold you have. They first presume and tell you you have. Then they tell you now.
And it's up to you to prove that you don't.
It's for you to prove that you don't. So if someone comes and tells you, I need from you 10 million bob in taxes, but if you give me 1 million, you'll be fine. Yeah. So it's not even about you being poor. This, in fact, now that you bring KRA, KRA has shown itself, they'd rather kill the cow than get 2 drops of milk from the cow.
Wow.
I think for me...
What do you expect, DEMAS?
For me, one of the biggest game change for Kenya after the 2010 constitution was passed is that it tried to inculcate judicial independence. For the first time, the president was not the appointing authority. All the things that happened that were untoward from independence, actually up to 2010, the judiciary was complicit in most of it. even if it's tortured, detention without trial. You understand? From the onset, the regime was trying to ensure that they claw back on this independence. And I think people have forgotten that the former Attorney General sponsored a bill. No, he didn't sponsor a bill, but he went to court to support a bill that was actually passed by Parliament that required JSC to send 3 names to the president, and then the president would choose one. So that's why it started. So the president has always wanted to have a say in who becomes a judge. And that went to court, and it was declared unconstitutional. Okay. The AG filed an appeal, but on the day the trial was supposed to start, he withdrew the appeal. And then about 20-something judges were again not appointed the same way as this 41 was the case. And after the same thing happened, after some years, after a year, I think, then the president appointed all of them. But with this one, there was actually more intention and perhaps also clear vile against some of these judges, because the Judicial Service Commission as a body has representation that would take care of the interests of the executive. It has the Attorney General who sits there and 2 members who are appointed as representatives of the people by the president. Not only that, they also have the person who represents the Public Service Commission, right? So if the president was relying on reports from NIS, were these reports tabled at the JSC? And if not, then they were time barred. And so that is assuming if they exist, if those reports exist. So the foundation itself was wrong. But I also spoke to one of the people who had appointed one of the 41, which was sometime last year. And this person worked in a law firm, and when they got appointed, they resigned. They resigned from their job, awaiting appointment. What happened? They stayed in limbo for more than 2 years.
And we have to ask ourselves, what were they doing for those 2 years? How are you surviving?
During these difficult times, especially.
Good question. All right, there's something
One question, Gerald. One thing I want to add to what DEMAS here has pointed out. If you notice, in the last 10 years, basically, the Jubilee regime, the judicial powers basically have really been whittled down. Remember, it was just 1 or 2 years ago, we witnessed a very unfortunate display of the Chief Justice having to come on TV and publicly beg for a budget allocation. We'll call a couple of it. It was so sad. And this is now some of the things that maybe we need to, if we're indeed having a constitutional moment, these are some of the changes that we need to bring into to bear, especially what DEMAS has touched on. This issue of having the president sort of rubber stamp the appointments of JSC. The president should not even feature at all. JSC's appointment should be final and take effect immediately. Or if it must indeed go through another body, perhaps Parliament, but even that I'm not for. Let JSC be fully independent as the draft has intended.
All right. There's something that Julie has mentioned, and it's about the investigative arms of government, or the people that we entrust to come up and tell us whether George or Julie is guilty or not. And there's a case that I come up on them, actually purported murder of one Sergeant Kenai. And ODP, is it ODPP? It is a public prosecutor, has come out and said DCI has not given them any files on the investigation. DCI is on record on holding press conferences and telling us this guy was murdered, or he was murdered on the left, how the bullets should have gone this and this way. Now, public prosecutor is saying that DCI has not given us any file or any reports on the investigation, and leaves us wondering, if today someone young as me outside here, do I stand justice even posthumously? And in the arms of government, should we trust them? Do you have any confidence in these arms of government? And for this specific case, what's your feeling as a lawyer?
Generally, first of all, for these investigative agencies, they're supposed to work hand in hand, as one hand washes the other. But now, as we are seeing, we're witnessing a complete breakdown in the relationship between like DCI and DPP, and you have to wonder, is it by design? Because they seem to be playing some sort of game, like a circus for the media. But at the end of the day, justice ends up getting defeated. And on the part of the murders of the likes of Kene, there's also this recent one we're hearing of the Kitengela 4. There's a lot of weird happenings of late. Yeah. There are rumors in some circles, and I don't know if they're to be believed, I hope they're not, that there's some sort of clique of rogue cops who also moonlight as some sort of vigilantes, or assassins that are basically meeting out extrajudicial justice, not too dissimilar to fictional characters like the Punisher or Batman. And if such things are actually happening in our society, then we really need to be scared, because this is now the arm of the deep state being felt. Yeah, I cannot lend credence to that. I don't know if it's true or not, but let's just hope that at the end of the day, rule of law prevails. Okay.
What are your thoughts on the same thing? Because I think you are the one who highlighted the issues of these institutions.
The shoe always drops. And people's incompetence and always comes out. When, in fact, the DPP himself came out the other day when he was launching one of the something for the office of the Director of Public Prosecutions.
Standard operating procedures.
Yes. Yeah, and those ones. And he was saying that, they have problems because proper investigations are not done. Yeah. So he comes out and says the Directorate of Criminal Investigations is not doing proper investigations to facilitate them doing
proper prosecution.
Proper prosecutions. Now, the reason why I think it's a good thing that it's now coming out in the fore and that they are having this public spat. In fact, I would encourage it. Let them have it some more. Because DPP, for the longest time, when they don't succeed or they're unable to do their job, who have they ganged up to blame? The judiciary.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying this public spat, very good. Very good. Because for the longest time, every time when people want to cover their incompetence, they say judiciary is the weak link. Judiciary is the weak link. Judiciary is not a link for anybody. And what we have been saying for a long time, actually, is that we have an incompetent, dishonest Directorate of Criminal Investigations. With their brother, the Director of Public Prosecutions. Useless. Can't do their job, won't do their job. So now we are blaming each other in public because, somebody probably somewhere is being asked to explain themselves. This one hasn't even reached the courts. So now we as Kenyans need to start asking and going back to ask, all these are the times that you guys have said,
this person is killed.
Is it not actually you who is the problem? It also should make us ask, when someone runs to the media to go and prosecute their case in public, in the media, you must ask yourself, because if you have a good case,
why do you need to?
Why do you need to go to the media? Why do you need to go and prosecute your case before the public? The public cannot, we don't have a jury system in this country. The public will not decide that case. The public cannot convict anybody. The people you need to go and convince are the courts. So why do you need to go to the public? I have, for a long time, decried this bad practice of hanging people in the court of public opinion. It is actually a tool of oppression. It's a tool that we now use to persecute people. Long before DPP and DCI charge someone, whether it's politicians, whichever politician, the first thing they do, before you're arrested at 7 o'clock, they've already run to the media,
And did a
put your
press
name,
conference.
told the whole world that you're guilty of a crime. And what does our media do? Now that you're part of the media, we run the story. So by the time you're going to court,
You're already guilty.
you're already guilty. You've been convicted. Now, by the time this case is being prosecuted now in court, and now you're forced to now put evidence and facts before the court, and it doesn't exist, and you can't sustain the charge,
Okay.
that's how we now turn around and start saying the judiciary is not helping us in the fight against corruption, when really the truth is there was no investigation done, there was no proper prosecution.
All right. DEMAS. This is coming at a point where there are people already, she's saying, who have already been accused and convicted at public opinion, the court of public opinion. And I mean, where's the recourse for these people? We have already said George is one who killed DEMAS. And then it turns out that we, the people who are saying it, cannot back it up or even have nothing to show that you did. And you're walking back to start creating another story. I mean, all this madness.
Well, I think, first of all, we contemplated and believed that our institutions would be able to stand for the Constitution, stand for the rule of law, stand for equality before the law. So it becomes it becomes a sad situation when these very institutions are instrumentalized for certain ends, and we have seen it happening. When you look at the criminal justice system, it is actually a chain that begins with the investigations by the police and the DCI. That investigation informs the prosecution, which would now inform the judiciary, which does not act on its own. It doesn't originate its own cases. So then the judiciary has to look at the evidence and using the standard of proof, whether if it's civil or criminal, the different standards of proof, then met out a punishment. And that punishment also goes to now the prison system in terms of punishment and rehabilitation. And then we go to the probation services. At any point when this chain is broken, then there's a problem. And for me, I think that our chain is broken in so many places that now we have found institutions now, as Sine is saying here, going to the media, to the court of public opinion to score points, instead of actually using the powers that were given to them to do the right thing. You have to remember that under the current budget, the only sector that got additional money is actually the Minister of Interior, and that's where the police, the DCI draw their money. At what point will we demand that these investments translate into results? Yeah, but how can you now add money to the police and then stymie the judiciary? I mean, so what results are you looking for anyway?
You began earlier with saying, are we serious about the fight for corruption? I mean, the fight against corruption.
Actually, that's the right term, the fight for corruption. But now, let's have it correctly. I think we are serious in the fight for corruption, not against. Right. Anyway.
Well, yeah, because it's not by mistake when things are done the way we see them. But this is Sergeant Kibe, what?
Yeah.
Police officer, a law enforcement officer is killed. And then instead of doing their job, you would hope and think that the police would want to protect one of their own and so do their job very well. But then now, for me, this now boils down again to why we intimidate our judges and bully them. Because we have no intention of actually seeking and delivering the truth. You should question. I think we should question every single prosecution or every time DPP, DCI show up and are blowing trumpets about something or some case that they're doing. You should ask, what is the ulterior motive behind that? Because then, by doing it the way, like right now, from the way I understand things, the DCI, when they can't find or they're not able to do their job properly, they go and report, ushtakiana kwa boss. It's not my fault. I'm not the one who's not doing my job. Ni huyu DPP hafanyi kazi yake.
Then huyu anasema sio mimi, ni huyu mwingine.
So everyone is just covering up for themselves.
Okay.
Now it then puts the judicial officer in an awkward position, because then now we have an executive that then starts shouting and saying that you're not doing your job. You're frustrating me in my in my fight against corruption. So judicial officers are put in a position where they feel like they need to deliver ahead on a platter. They need to deliver,
They need John's head.
So you wonder, are people justly and rightfully convicted in this country for whatever crimes they are accused of? Are the cases that we are prosecuting there rightly or justly, or are we doing this to appease public anger, to appease the wrath of the executive, so that you don't find yourself, being targeted or being squeezed inappropriately, or
So every case that happens, now we need to ask ourselves the second question: what is the real intention? What is the real business of the whole thing? Anyway, now there's a conversation that's going on in the political scene, and I think we need to give it a legal rest, or a legal breather, or a legal perspective, and it's about pushing elections.
about
Pushing elections. We've seen people come out. We've seen one very good gentleman called Atwoli. He's made a press conference. The other day as well, IBC came out to tell us that they're not ready for 2022 elections. Then yesterday, they came out with another press conference. I don't know if you guys read the press release from IBC on what they meant. They're saying, "No, you guys, you misquoted us." But anyway, this conversation that keeps running, and it looks like we're getting more comfortable with it. The more we have it, the more it feels nice. The more it feels good on the ears. First of all, it started as painful, like, guys, you should not be talking about that. The more we hear about it, the more it begins to become music. And you wonder, now when we start having such illegal conversations, at what point does the law have the safety buckles to stop that those intentions? George?
Indeed, the law is very clear on the frequency and periodic. Basically, how often we should supposed to have elections and when they should take place. Now, when I hear the likes of Francis Atwoli now touting or pushing for a change of the date, it's actually very unfortunate, because if you listen to what IBC said yesterday, basically, the IBC is basically saying they don't have enough time to create the new constituencies before the new election, before the next election, and that's okay, because the constitution, as it is worded right now, allows for the limitation of boundaries every 8 to 12 years. So, but what happens is, if it happens within like maybe 1 year of the next election, what will simply happen is that those constitutions will kick in at the next election cycle. So this talk of having postponing the election because of this issue of constitutions it's poppycock, it's nonsense. And so I'm also very shocked whenever I hear people like even the president himself saying that he wants to have a say. He's going to have a say in his own succession. No, that is a talk of kings and monarchy. The only say that the president is going to have is his one vote in Gatundu. Yeah, so when we hear such talk of postponing elections, we are not going to let it happen at all. The election next will take place next year by hook or crook.
Okay. Hi, Julie, they have said it very clearly. No elections until we have BBI. So the more you guys are playing in the courts, the more you're denying us elections. Is this viable?
Let me divert this ball to Dimas in the meantime.
I see you're very amused. Okay.
Everyone has the freedom to express themselves. So what they are saying, they are free to say, but the media should treat it with the contempt and that it deserves, and it should be given contextual background. Yes, the only way elections can be postponed is by a resolution of parliament following a catastrophe or war. You understand? Unless someone is planning that, then I don't see how elections can be postponed or should be postponed. And if you try to read the spirit of that BBI judgment, basically what it did and what it tried to do, especially in terms of giving us our history, is that it was trying to tell us that politicians cannot run everything in Kenya the way they think they can, especially things to do with the constitution. Yeah. So if we decide that Atwoli today is well suited to tell us when elections are held, and indeed we postpone the next election, then clearly we don't know when the next elections are going to be, because they can equally tell us that perhaps now BBI 2 needs to be passed before we go to the next elections. And but going by what the IBC is saying, it is true that even logistically they cannot delimitate constituencies in time for the next elections. And they also have to wait for the BBI judgment itself. So we're looking at a trial that will start on 29th, I guess, which is next week, last for 4 days. They retire for 2 weeks, perhaps, or if they're minded, 1 week. Then we are likely to see an appeal of that also in the Supreme Court.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it's very difficult for IEBC to do that. So I just think that conversation should be treated with the contempt that it deserves.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything to say?
Well, I agree, first of all, with Dimas. You have a freedom of expression, constitutionally guaranteed, protected. So you can say anything that you want to say. You cannot also stop the rantings of a madman. Or or as they say, that the croaking of frogs cannot stop
a cow from drinking water.
Or from drinking water.
So nothing will stop us from drinking the elections, whether they're Dekni or Ketni.
Yeah, but because we have laws. We have a constitution. Maybe we should ask ourselves why we are being primed with this conversation.
Okay. All right.
We are being primed.
Okay.
It's not just politicians don't just talk.
So let's normalize the conversation. Let's have it more often.
Yeah.
Let's normalize it.
Noam Chomsky calls it manufacture of consent.
Yeah. So by the time
They'll say again, the people have said with your signature.
Exactly.
Julie SOWETO. I said we can push it. The people have spoken.
Yeah. The people have spoken.
Right.
We are being primed. It's not too long ago. What's his face? Trump. in America was, the misinformation that he would pass. I think at some point somebody said that, Obama wants to run for a third term, and he hit the roof. And I thought, really, surely, it can't happen, but he nevertheless hit the roof.
Okay. Aye, lastly, as we close the shop, degrees or no degrees?
For the political class,
Yes.
my view on this one actually is I think I'm in a minority.
Okay.
First of all, let me say education is a very valuable resource. Yeah, it's good for everyone to be educated if possible. It broadens the mind and exposes one. And we have experienced as Kenyans several times that ignorance can be very costly, especially on the part of our leaders. Yeah. However, and even the Bible tells us that, my people perish for lack of knowledge. Yeah. However, the reason I don't believe the elected MPs need to have degrees is because 10 years ago, we passed a constitution that basically shifted the power to select cabinet secretaries from among the political class to technocrats. And it has been like that for the last 10 years. And what are the results of that? If I can just name a few examples. We have very highly educated guys like Dr. Fred Matiang'i, Minister of Interior, who has never seen a democratic freedom that was hard-won that he didn't want to roll back. And who thought it was a good idea for us to have a super spreader Madaraka Day rally, as you said, in Kisumu, but he's still telling us you need to be home by 10. It's nonsense. Then you have people like James Macharia, the CS Transport, highly educated man. He has never seen a road project that he wanted to finish. And then you also have the likes of people like Keriako Tobiko, a Cambridge educated lawyer who thought it would be a good idea to destroy people's houses in Langata so that monkeys can come and reside there. It's absurd. So when I take such things into consideration, senior, I tend to believe that, sometimes the conversation we can be having is, are leaders born or are they made? Because if indeed someone, and of course you have to remember, some people don't have degrees, not because they didn't want to study, but they are victims of circumstance, as many people are in this country typically are. But if people genuinely want someone to lead them, lack of education degree notwithstanding, is it not elitist of us? Are we not sort of disenfranchising them if we tell them that you can't have the leader that you want because he did not go to university? I tend to believe that it should be open to everyone. That's my view on this degree issue. I don't know where it's seniors.
Okay. DEMAS, then I'll end with Julie. Degree or no degree? And also when you're doing it, put in reference two gentlemen, very educated, senior counsels in the Senate, in the Assembly. In the Assemblies, both assemblies. One is called SC James Orengo. Another one is called Senior Counsel Otiende Omolo. Very educated. They came on the floor of the House. They told us our BBI is a bad document. The recommendations of the document were bad. And it's not good for the country and for the Mwananchi. But when it came to voting, we vote yes. I vote yes. And now they're the lawyers defending the same document. At what point do you separate education from integrity?
Well, but first of all, I don't think integrity was the issue there. But, members of parliament have certain constitutional functions depending on whether they're in the Senate or the National Assembly. There are certain very technical things that they might need to do. For example, vetting powers. So for example, budgeting processes and things like that. So ideally, in an ideal world, you'd find that these individuals need a certain amount of education. But now, when we go to the rights of people to choose the people that they want, which is sacrosanct, it means that perhaps we trust the people of Kenya to choose whoever they want, and that is why certain constituencies have engineers and lawyers and professors as their representatives, whereas others have let me not sound elitist, but is there any evidence that the more educated MPs are more effective or make better decisions for the people of Kenya. That's the jury is out on that.
Okay.
When this provision was being suspended until I think it was suspended till this year, so that in the next election the degree requirement would come in. There was a belief that certain regions of Kenya do not have people with degrees, especially the far-flung northern, North Rift, Northeastern, and things like that. But it was discovered that actually it is these other areas that tend to elect non-educated people. So this argument, I think, for me, I think people should be free to elect whoever they want, regardless.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whoever they want. Okay, Julie, I don't know if you also think they should elect whoever they want or whoever the law says.
It's a complicated question. If you ask me, I agree with both my brothers here with regard to the kind of work that our legislators do, because being elected makes you a legislator. You make laws. So there's a certain degree of intellect that's required for you to even be able to appreciate and make the laws that then govern us.
Okay.
I'm just looking to see, I mean, when I think of how many pieces of legislation have been struck down for not complying with the Constitution, some of the things that even they debate, and it's appalling.
Okay.
And I think that is a question of just either failing to understand your job. Most of the time, it would appear as if you wonder when our legislators are in Parliament, do they understand what it is that they're there to do?
Okay, so you're voting for degrees.
That's one of the considerations.
Okay.
On the other hand, I think it is important to consider: do we have universal education? So that has education been made easily available and achievable? Degrees, education all the way to the university level for everybody.
Okay.
So that village in some corner of Turkana or Ilchamus or the Ogiek, they have a right to be represented by one of their own who understand
their issues.
Okay. Now, if they've been marginalized for centuries, for so long, for decades, and then we now add a barrier to their right to choose a representative of their choice from amongst them, because that's what we do using education. So it depends on who's pushing this this provision.
Okay.
And to what is the intention it is intended to achieve? We must go back and always ask, what intention, what mischief does it cure? What does it achieve?
Okay.
The law is all about mischief. So if it affects certain people disproportionately such that it disenfranchises them from exercising their Article 38 rights, I'm not sure that it's useful or relevant. So I am reluctant to decide one way or the other, or to say, and you never know. I mean, one of them might be my client tomorrow. I might need to defend their rights
their degrees.
Stand. Not their degrees, their right to stand. I'm not defending anybody's degree.
Okay, in a country where in 15 minutes you can have a degree, it's very beautiful.
Just to add on to what Senior has said, let's not confuse also, let's not conflate. You can fail to have an education but still be very intelligent. Yeah. So we should actually make sure that distinction comes out very clearly. And then also when you think about it, legislation at its heart is making laws. Yeah, and what is it? Just basically looking at the society around you and trying to address the ills for the benefit of everyone. I don't think it actually requires rocket science. And then also, because legislation can be very complex, Parliament actually employs legislative drafters whose role it is to give life to whatever
the thoughts
of the parliamentarians.
To give legal life.
Yes.
Okay.
So I can see George. I mean, George is just saying we have other ways of curing any deficiency in not having a degree.
Yes.
I think the question of having a degree is a question of means, which means the people who are most affected
are those without means,
are the poor.
Okay.
And we really just keep mistreating the poor in this country, and that's the majority of us. Like, how many people can actually afford to go to university and pay for their university education? Even help, I'm not sure quite helps. So we're trying to make it to make it so hard for people to become to join the political class.
Okay. So it becomes a preserve club.
Yeah, so that it
a
becomes
members
a
club.
a preserve of dynasties.
All right.
That's what education has become in this country. We are using education as a political football, as a political tool, as a political weapon.
Okay.
And that's not right.
All right, let's finish with this gentleman on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, Gerald.
How are you? Am I speaking to? You can have your headphones.
Yes. You're speaking to Farid Faraj.
Farid Faraj, jambo.
Jambo sana, habari asubuhi.
Salama.
Salamia panelist.
Wako hapa wanasalimika.
So I want just to put some weight on the academic qualification thing.
Okay.
Let us not take the country into things about school, because we have leaders who have led us without the education.
Okay.
As a leader is whatever you understand the needs of your people.
Yeah.
If you can understand the needs of your people, then that is, your people are sorted out.
Okay.
We have leaders who had PhDs and they are doctors, but you see, they could not even listen to whatever their people are saying. They are marching to school and they have failed their country.
Okay.
And we have people, maybe with that diploma thing, that people are not recognizing just on the degree thing. Be the diploma and qualified from the diploma from SOWETO.
Okay.
And they have proved it by working out in their respective fields, and they have worked effectively, and their work or their duties have no doubt whether they are qualified or not. They have demonstrated their qualifications, but now you have people who have degrees who can demonstrate their qualifications.
Okay.
Even if you can ask somebody what was your thesis about, they cannot even really understand. And if you ask them, are you graduate? They say, yes, I have a degree.
Yeah.
So let us not force out people getting degrees that are not helpful to the society. Number two, leadership is not like medicine that you have to qualify with a certain degree, practice certain field of medicine. Or like in law, you have to qualify from the school of law so that you can practice law in Kenya or something of the sort. You're just told a degree is one. I can have a degree in energy and become an MCA. Is that degree in energy helping me to help my society as an MCA back at home? Which it is not really helpful. My productivity level as an MCA with a degree of energy and petroleum does not really reflect. Because me, for example, my county director, so they have is tea and farming.
And you're in Bomet, where they're planting tea. Okay.
Yes, for example, if I'm coming from Bomet or Kericho or Nandi, where tea is the raw material, or their business, I cannot really help them because my people mind, they don't mind anything.
Okay.
So if we can just say, let us have a certain qualification for certain jobs. For example, president with masters, senator and MP with degrees, and governors with masters. That will help. And MCAs, let them just have a compo certificate or a diploma certificate is enough.
Okay.
But if you present degrees, it is not going to be quantified. Sawa, asanteni sana bunge la mwananchi, mchape kazi, tunawafuatilia kwa umbali tu hapa.
Asante sana ndugu yangu, kuwa na weekend njema. It's been a pleasure having you, and I hope to see you again on Monday.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll not be able to pick more calls because of time. We're already at 9:40. So I want to appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming in. I'll see you again soon. Julie, I hope you'll be coming in more often. DEMAS is it your first time? George is my guy. I know where to find him. All right, unless someone has anything as a parting shot, I think we should be off the hook. All right. Thank you. All right. See you again. Thank you guys who have been tuning in on YouTube and on Facebook. We hope to see you again on Monday. This is The Tackle, and it ends now. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.